Hello there, this is Scott with Perry Public Library with a new series on I Need to Communicate, and specifically communicating online using our email features. So we want to talk a little bit about using your email's best features, and this session is going to go over the different functions that are available to you from your own account, from various email accounts, from Outlook or Spectrum or Gmail or whatever it is that you happen to have. So we're going to look through most of them and see that they're kind of real similar in their functions. Now, in the olden days, we would write out a letter, we'd sign our name, we'd address it to who it was to, we'd lick a stamp and seal the letter, we'd go to a mailbox, and then we would send it away. We still do that, I guess. But today is electronically formatted. You own electronic real estate in a server somewhere in a bank of servers that's in a warehouse somewhere in a region, maybe out in California somewhere, that's connected to a lot of other servers across the country, and we call it the cloud. Because if you look at all these connections, that's just kind of representing all of the connections between some servers. But there are so many servers across the land and really across the world. If we showed all the connections from every computer, every device to every server, it would just be a cloud of connections. So that's what we call the cloud. But we are going to talk tonight about email. Now realize, I want you to know that your email is not on your phone. It's not on your computer. It's not just sitting there. Actually, these devices are portals to see your email account in a server that's located somewhere like I was showing there. Probably out in California or Texas, or it could be Canada. But let's look at what email actually is. It's made up of, essentially, we can break it down into four parts. The username, which is usually your unique name, like Scott.Howarth or Elvis Presley or Bacon Lover or something like that. Secondly, the @ sign. We call it the @ symbol. And that is just a connector between the username and the domain name or the email provider, which is number 3. The email provider is who we just looked at a second ago: Yahoo, Gmail, AOL, just the different ones that are out there. And then the suffix or the end of it is .com, or you might have seen .org, .net, .edu, .gov, .mil. And we know that we can kind of ascertain that some of these mean certain words. MIL would be military, gov is government, EDU, education, net would kind of stand for network, org stands for organization, and .com actually stands for communication. Now, passwords are really important little things, and that's a whole nother session that we could get into, but passwords are necessary. Passwords are the key for you to get into your real estate, your email. So password is something that only you know, and if you share that with someone else, now they have access to your email as well, if they know what your email address is. So password is just like a key. Keep that in mind. So let's talk a little bit about, we'll use Yahoo just to begin with, email. Here's a typical Yahoo email, and there's a lot of different things on here that we can go over, and we'll go over just a few of them today. Here's inbox. Inbox is just like when you get a letter and you have a little tray that you put things in. They come in from you, you put them in the inbox. So the inbox is usually right up at the top. On the other email services, the inbox is generally at the right or at the top somewhere along those lines. They're all kind of real close to the same. Drafts, that's another thing that we will see. And a draft is simply an email that you've been working on and you haven't finished yet. So it's like an uncompleted letter. That's what a draft is. And so if you're working on an email and suddenly it's time for lunch, or you got to leave for whatever reason, you get up and go away and come back to it later, and maybe you just shut your computer down, the draft is what's sitting there waiting for you to finish. So that's a draft. Spam, which we all kind of know what that is. Spam is just this unwanted email. We get unwanted ads and such things in the mail that we just throw away. So even with email, it's the same. Sometimes we get ads that we just don't need, and they will either automatically go to our spam file in some cases, or we may just say, this is spam, send it to my spam file. Trash is simply where we send things that we are done with. We read something, we read an email, and it's completed, we're done with it, we move it to the trash. And trash is kind of like, on the left, a trash can. We wad it up and throw it in there. And let's say that it's like, oh, wait a minute, there was something in that email I meant to read, or I meant to copy, and oh, rats, I've thrown it in the trash. Well, the trash is just a file. It's just a place for files where they go. and it's not really gone. So you can actually go back into the trash file, move it back into your inbox, and open it back up and reread it again. But if you go into your trash file and empty your trash file, that's kind of like what happens on the right-hand side. It goes into the garbage truck, and when the garbage truck drives away, it is gone. You cannot replace that. You cannot get back hold of it again. So bear that in mind with regard to your trash file. Now, with Gmail and Yahoo, I think both of those have something called stars. You can actually put a star on an email like we have here, and it sort of gives you a highlight for yourself, saying that this is an important email. You might go through and star like 5 or 7 emails that pertain to the same topic, the same subject, and think, I'm going to hang on to those. And you can go back and say, just show me the starred emails, and that'll bring all those up at once. Here's an example of stars, that what it might look like if you click a star to make something important. Now, it's just a toggle. You can also unstar it just by clicking on the star, and it'll go away as well and be blank. So it will no longer be starred or important to you in that manner. Compose is a very important piece of the equation when we come to emails, because that's how you actually write your email. Compose just means exactly that. We're going to compose or create an email, or in the case of like Outlook there on the left, a new email. Plus always means add. We're going to add something new. So compose means to start an email. And then once we start it, you'll notice that in order to send the letter to someone, we need to address it. Typically, you can just click on the word to, T-O, at the top lines of your emails, and it'll bring up a list of names that you might want to connect the email to. But you also sometimes see the word CC and BCC. The letters CC stand for carbon copy, which we all kind of are familiar with what that is, and that just means that we're going to send a copy of it to some other people. They're not necessarily the main addressees, the main people that we want to write to, but we're going to send them a copy of what we're writing to someone else. BCC means blind carbon copy, and what that simply means is that they are going to be someone who's going to receive a copy of this email, but all of the other people, all the other two people and CC people, they are not going to know. They're going to be blind to the fact that the BCC person has gotten this email as well. So that might be a situation in which maybe you have a special surprise party, birthday, or something like that planned, and you need to BCC someone. Subject, of course, is an important line. It kind of determines if your email is going to get read or not. So you want to make sure that you typically type something in the subject line, and then the body of the text is usually below the subject, and that's where you actually write the message. Now, reply all, and forward. We're probably familiar with that. Reply just means that I'm sending a response back to the person that sent me an email. Reply to all would be if there's a group of people that received the email and you want all of them to hear what you have to say, you could reply all. And then forward just means that I'm going to take this email and send it along to someone else, forward it to someone else. Attachments are just like a picture on a letter, and you paper clip it together and put it all in the envelope and send it away. So in electronic mail or email's case, what we're going to do is attach, for example, a picture or a document that's not going to be a part of the main body of the text, but it's going to come along with the email, so that when someone gets the email, they'll read the main body of the text and they'll say attached is a copy of whatever it is, and they can click on that attachment and open it up. So attachment is just like an extra item that you're sending along with the email, but it's not going to be in the body of the text. And when we want to attach something, we always want to look for a paper clip somewhere located somewhere on the email. Sometimes it's at the top, sometimes it's at the bottom, just depends on the email service that you happen to be using. So paperclip is kind of what we're looking for there. Addresses, where we used to write out an address, is now a contact. So you'll have a name of someone and then their email address. And we talked about the 4 parts of an email address. And so typically you'll have someone's address that you can just add to the to line, or the CC line, or even the BCC line for that matter, of your email, so they can get it as well. So who is it to? Typically you can click the word to and it'll bring up a list, or in the bottom left it shows an example. You just type the letter S, and it'll bring up all the S names. to give you the option to click on one and say that's who I want to send it to. Or for that matter, you can just write in an entirely brand new address if you don't have it in your address book. And then you just want to send it away, right? Put it in the mail. And when we get ready to do that, we want to look for the word send somewhere on your email. And it's probably there somewhere if you just look around. It'll be a lot of times in the upper right-hand corner somewhere. It might be in the upper left, but it'll be around the edge of the email somewhere where you can click the word send. Occasionally, like on some devices, you'll have not necessarily a send button that says send, but you'll have something that looks like a little paper airplane, and that would be what you would click. Because what do you do with a paper airplane? Well, you got to throw the thing, right? So you can tap the airplane button and it sends your email. And you can have multiple accounts too, by the way. You can have 2 or 3 Yahoo mails and a couple of Gmails if you like, or an AOL. You don't have to be tied down to just one. So someone has a Spectrum account and maybe they have a Spectrum email or webmail of some sort, and don't feel like you're stuck with that email only. You can create a Gmail account, a couple of them if you'd like to, a Yahoo account, Outlook, whatever you'd like. So it's up to you. The email companies don't know who you are. They just are happy to serve you their services. So now what I want to do is go forward and we'll talk a little bit about some more specifics regarding emails.